Welcome to Tuesdays with Andrea. It's the inspiration station for everyday people guiding humanity forward. I'm your host, Andrea Rios McMillan, and every week I pursue conversations that matter with people who can relate to the common struggles we all face. You'll get to know the person behind a profession and find commonality with people of all ages, cultures, and backgrounds. Listen as friends, neighbors, and coworkers offer meaningful, personal explorations of modern life and the values we hold dear, all for the purpose of strengthening and uplifting others. In this episode, you'll meet Raul Alvarado, an uplifting leader with a fun sense of humor and a high standard of ethics. As an agent of massive change, he's one of those clutch people who's willing to show up for you during those moments that really matter. And trust me, you want him to. Why? Because people like him are ready, willing, and prepared. Take a look at Raul in action.
This is the day that we've been waiting for, Super Bowl Friday, and that's all you got?
Ricky, everybody up front here.
Yep. And everyone. We got about 10 minutes before we open the door, so hopefully everyone's pumped up, ready to go. As everyone's got a Red Bull in hand, so we're going to need that in a minute. Toast drink it, yeah. We're going to do a little toast. We're all going to shotgun a Red Bull. So, again, guys, let me give you something real quick. So, right now, month to date, give you a quick few numbers real quick before we go. So, we're down about 150 grand for the month, right? If we do this day right today, we make all that back if we hit our goal. Then we get tomorrow, that's the last day of the month, last day of the quarter, and it ends up being gravy. It's all gravy, icing on the cake. Maybe not gravy because we all ate too much yesterday, but the line's pretty big outside. We got a lot of people out there. We decided to call an audible and use shopping carts. I know we didn't do it last year. Maybe it'll be chaos, maybe it won't, maybe it's a bad idea, I don't know, but...
Let them learn!
We'll find out.
New GM, here we go!
Somebody gets stampeded, it's not my fault. It's Raul's idea. Alright, so let's do this real quick. So everyone's got a Red Bull. Alright, so I want Raul's going to come in, he's going to get us going, we're going to get a cheer going. Yeah. We're all going to shotgun the Red Bull before we open the doors. I need you guys all like a 15. Right now, some of you guys are like a 7. I need you at a 15. So Raul, let me... Woo! Yeah! Come on, Oswego! That's more like it. All right, raise your hands, who's tired? Who's drunk? Who feels Keep your hands up. Who's afraid of what's about to happen any minute now?
Fear schmear.
You should be. Whose heart is racing? My heart's racing. All right, guys, so keep in mind, today, how's everyone's Thanksgiving? Good? So today starts the holidays. Today is the day where magic begins, right? This is what you guys worked for all year. All the coaching, all the training, all the complaining, all the happiness, right? You got that, Jen? I got it. Okay. This is what it's all about. So in a couple minutes, we're going to open the doors, and chaos is going to happen, okay? There's going to be customers happy and sad, upset. Don't take it personal. Just make sure when you guys are out there, have fun. That's what it's all about. Come to BestBuy and have fun. Can you guys do that?
Yes.
All right, get closer, get closer. So we'll do a little cheer real quick. At the end of the cheer, we'll do the, will you protect this house? I need to pour the Red Bull all over your chest.
I'm still cheering my ass. We can cheer my ass.
Really quick, I want you guys to notice Jessica. Jessica. Okay.
Hi, Jessica.
That's the end of the line. Okay?
All the red balloons.
Make everyone know. You have the most important job out on the floor right now. Some customers had to give us money.
Someone got promoted. No pressure. All right, Oswego, you ready? Yeah. Let's say fast. You say bye. You protect this house. Have a shot on your chest.
Nipple shot.
All right, we're ready. Get your department. You ready?
First off, shout out to BestBuy 1170 team in Oswego. It's so great seeing everyone in that clip. Shout out to Dennis, Eric, Wiki, and thank you to Simon for letting me use that video clip. I think this was a perfect classic example of Raul doing what Raul does best, which is motivating, engaging, and bringing teams together. In this episode, we're going to catch up with Raul and see where he's at now. A lot has happened since that video was actually filmed almost 10 years ago. So a lot's happened. He now has teenage boys instead of toddlers. He's been married for 17 years with his beautiful wife, Adriana. They've since moved to Wellington, Florida. So they relocated over there to the far, far south, which is a far move from around the corner, which is where they used to live. And he's keeping busy as an essential service worker, managing 2 Comcast locations in Wellington, Florida. So in addition to keeping his communities connected during COVID-19, I'll be talking to him about who are the people in his life who've uplifted him, and he'll give us some advice on ways that he's adjusted and how he deals with stress. So I hope you guys tune in. Enjoy the show. Welcome, Raul.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
Good. So what's going on over there? What's life like over there in Florida right now? I know here it's a little different.
It's it's probably the same story, but just different atmosphere. I mean, it's beautiful over here. It's like 92 degrees over here right now.
Really?
Yeah, I know. You feel bad? How is it over there?
No, I don't feel bad. You know what? Actually, it's gorgeous here too. We've had some beautiful weather this week. It's 70s and sunny. And so it's perfect.
Really? You guys hit 80 yesterday. That's a big deal.
Did we?
I think so.
Wow. See, now it's beautiful here too, but normally, yes, you guys definitely win on the weather front for sure.
It is 92 degrees out here. The humidity is starting to kick up, but we can't go swimming. We can't go to the beach. So it's a different world right now. So everyone is inside, huckered in. So it's we can't enjoy any of the beauty of outside as like we used to.
And you were here. You grew up here.
I miss it over there. You know what I miss? Like right now, we would be doing is getting my grass ready for getting the lawn ready.
You miss that, Raul?
I love that. That was the best part, was spending my days outside, trimming the tree, fertilizing, pulling weeds. I love doing that. It was amazing. That was the best part of it, getting the pool ready. But I miss doing that. Like out here, they have someone that does our lawn for us, so it takes the fun out of all of it. But I loved it. I enjoyed it.
How's the Rona affecting you guys?
The Rona, can't stand it. It's changed the way we live. It changed the way we do things. I mean, we went from a family that was always outside, went to stores and did everything together, to us being inside all the time. It's like our daily norm now. Is this going to be the new norm that we do? I mean, if you look at one aspect of how my wife and I do work, knock on wood, that we still have a job and that we still work, right? During these crazy times. And then how empty the streets are. I mean, it's like you only go out when you need to. And then the kids schooling, that's, night and day difference. We went used to working all day, our kids being at school, being taught by teachers. Now it's transformed to the parents being the teachers now. So like, today's my day off and I had to help my kids with school. And I'm like, holy smokes, you still got your everyday grind of, making sure the house is clean, dinner's done, kids are ready for school. It's crazy. It's a crazy world, and like I was telling you earlier, it's beautiful outside, but you can't really go out and enjoy it. It's different. So
are you guys, so when you do go to work, because today you're off, so you're able to help them, but what do they do when you're at work? It's a band. We wake up early, we get them up early, and my wife and I are helping them both as much as we can. And then we check in with them throughout the day. And, as soon as we come home from work, when you work 10, 11 hours, you come home and now you're helping the kids with their homework, things that they missed and didn't get done. So it's a balance and a grind all on its own. It's pretty crazy. It's totally different. Both of you guys work outside of the home, right?
Yeah. So I work for Comcast, and I'm a manager of 2 stores. So I have a total of 16 employees. So it's a retail center where, if you want to pick up equipment, if you want to pick up, a video box or a mobile phone, we're there for you. So I manage employees, and my wife works for Concentra, where it's like a walk-in clinic so if you do want to go to the hospital, you go to these walk-in clinics, still see a doctor and a nurse to get looked at. So we are essential employees. So we have to go to work. So every day we're risking going outside, being out, where we could possibly get in contact and get sick. So
We are, we are practicing social distancing like crazy. We have gloves at home, masks at home. It's like every time I leave, my wife's like, put your mask on, put your gloves on. It's just like, things you would never do before,
Yeah.
So, today she's out in the thing. She grabbed her gloves, grabbed her mask. So it's just crazy how different things are,
Yeah. And for being an essential worker right now, I mean, Comcast, can you imagine if there was no Comcast?
Everyone needs their internet.
We would go crazy.
Everyone needs their video. Everyone needs their internet. It's, you cannot live without it. It's crazy. Some gentleman had his Italian channel drop off and he was freaking out, just, you understand the little things in life. I'm like, holy smokes. But they're like, oh, thank goodness you're open. My internet's down. It's crazy. So
that Italian channel means a lot to him right now.
I know, right?
I think for anyone who has to go out right now and continue to work and continue to be around people, that's important and it's necessary work. And we thank you for being able and willing to do that work while we're able to sit comfortably in our homes and work from home. I think
you're welcome.
There's a lot of credit that needs to be extended there.
Thank you. You know what you should do? You should send me Portillos. I'll take it. I'll wait.
Oh, wait, do you guys have Portillos?
Yeah, but it's in Tampa. It's like 3 hours away. It's too far away. So
okay, we can make this happen, Raul.
All right.
What do you miss most from Portillos?
Beef sandwiches.
Yes.
That big, beautiful beef, and I put giardiniera all over it, mozzarella, green bell peppers, and then the fries, the cheese fries. Man, those are the best. Those are the best.
Okay.
I miss that.
All right. Well, let's start with, understanding a little bit about your past and how you grew up. So what was growing up like for you? Where did you grow up and what was that experience like? Was it fun? What do you remember from your childhood?
My childhood was awesome. I grew up in Berwyn. We lived a little bit in Cicero. And then we moved to Berwyn. At that time, my dad had his own business. He was his own landscaping business. My mom was cutting hair. From there it was a different world. Berwyn was a beautiful little town that there was like no kids. It was all just, older couples. And then when we were there, we started to have more kids moving in. I tell you, if you ever watched a movie where it's kids all in a neighborhood and it's the best childhood, that kind of was my childhood. I mean, we grew up with so many different kids. You played games together, you were close with their parents. It was the best childhood. I grew up there, went to grade school, went to high school. You couldn't ask for more. Even now, when you go back to that neighborhood, it's just crazy to see how much it has changed over the years. But, I miss that old neighborhood. That's like things like those experiences you never get back. That's what I miss the most. Even now that these, all our friends that have grown up and everyone has kids now, you still talk about it. You ever watch the movie The Sandlot?
Yeah, I love that movie.
When those kids got older, it's kind of like the same thing. You want to go back to that, so
yeah, that's
what I miss the most was growing up and missing that. So my kids, I always tell them, go out. That's what they miss the most at home is all the kids playing and on the street and everything like that. That's what we miss the most.
And this has been an adjustment for them because your kids had grown up around here, their whole life. And due to relocating for work for Adriana's job, they had to move and make new friends. RJ specifically, high school, and then Alex being in middle school.
Huge difference. Yeah.
How has that been for them? Because now it's been about a year and a half.
Yeah.
How is that move and that transition? Because, Chicago, Florida, you have the weather factor that's different, but also I feel like Florida people are from another planet.
They are. It is a different world out here. What I noticed is,
and not in a bad way, because I have family in Florida. Love you guys.
When we moved here, I'm so used to talking to people and talking with my neighbors. But out here, when I moved out here, everyone was so quiet and to themselves. It was like, I'd be like, hey, how you doing, John? And they'd be like, oh, hey, Raul. And they'd walk inside. So that was different at home. But I think the kids, I still remember sitting at the kitchen table as a family. And we're like, we're going to be moving to Florida. And the biggest thing was they're going to miss their friends. That was the biggest thing, playing. RJ, my oldest, was going to miss playing with his football team, being with his friends. Alex was deep into soccer, going to miss his team. So when we moved here, it was a huge adjustment because they didn't have the same friends. There wasn't the same group. But I think how they adjusted is, implementing themselves in the group of kids that were here. Now it's like RJ is so deep into his football team, has new friends, even had girlfriends. It was crazy. Alex, same thing, had his little girlfriends, has these group of friends. It is crazy to see how, from when we first got here to here now, it's night and day difference. And it's
but in a good way. They've adjusted.
Oh, they have adjusted. But, for us, my wife and I, the thing that we miss the most is you guys. We don't have the same friends. We really miss you guys. We miss it all. I mean, we used to go out every weekend, remember?
Yeah.
Sushi, wine, living the life. It was the best. And the beauty was, your kids and my kids, I mean, we're all like family. I mean, that's the beauty of it. But that's what we miss the most is our friends and family.
Of course, because you can't replace those people. But I think, the move that you guys have had to go through has worked out well. And especially if you have kids who are in those transitional phases of middle school and high school, sometimes that's very concerning for a lot of parents because we worry about our kids. But I'm glad that your boys have shown a lot of resilience and adjusted very quickly and adapted to easily to the people over there, and they made their friends and they're doing well. I think that's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely good to see them transition the way that they did, especially with school. Because when you have RJ as a teen, when you're a teenager, you remember being a teenager and you're getting whopped out of your high school where you're going to be, and then you jump back in. It's a different world. So, what
was the worst thing you ever did as a teenager?
Is him or me?
You.
Oh my goodness. Andrew, I was a bad kid. I mean, I was a bad kid.
No, you weren't. Were you really?
Trust me. Yes, I was a bad kid.
Okay, tell us how you were a bad kid. So give us some, because now you're an excellent family man and dad and husband. What kind of bad kid were you? Because I don't feel like you couldn't be that bad.
You have no idea. I mean, if you knew me back then, if I could have done anything, go back. You have that part in life where you're like, if I could go back and redo this over, it would have been my 4 years of high school. I was so bad. I mean, growing up, if you talk to my sister, I mean, she could go on and on. My sister, now that I'm older, I appreciate her because my sister told on me about everything I did. Everything I did, she would go tell my mom, and I would get in trouble. But I got into so many fights as a kid because I had such a bad temper, And the problem is, kids, I was so easily influenced, and I would, do what these other kids would tell me. I would get in these fights and do these bad things. I didn't care about school. I wasn't really put into it like I should have been. I wish my parents were so busy also. It's like they weren't really there to really, watch me as I go on like I'm doing with my kids. They couldn't push me to do sports. I did some sports, but it wasn't enough. So I hung around with kids that, all they did was get into trouble. So I would get into trouble all the time. But I was a bad kid. I got into a lot of fights, Andrew. A lot of fights.
Okay, so give the kid who is now you, right, who constantly got in trouble at school, maybe they consider themselves a bad kid. What changed for you? Give this kid some hope here. How did you change that narrative?
I had an aha moment because I was tired of, every time I did something bad, I never thought what the outcome was, all the people that I would hurt. And I would hurt my parents a lot, my mom, my dad. And I still remember how upset I made my dad because my dad is such a hard worker. And he worked, he would wake up at 5 a.m., work all day, come home. And that's the last thing you want to hear is your son getting in trouble after he just busts his butt all day. So I just remember him sitting on the steps and just being so disappointed in me. That was like my aha moment. I mean, he was upset with me before in the past, but just something about him sitting down, I could see his hands were just dirty and just beat up. And you could tell he was physically tired. That how upset he was with me. I think that was my click, my aha moment. I was like, why am I doing this? And within me, I knew there was so much more good. So I had to distance myself from the people that I was hanging around with. And it was tough because those were my only friends, really, So once I started to distance myself, pay attention to school, get myself into wrestling, use that as a tool. And then that wrestling team really helped me out. My coach really helped me out, Coach Slater. I mean, he was amazing. From then on, that's when I had that moment. But, it's tough because a lot of people don't have that aha moment. And when you're a kid, it's like, I know everything. I have the world in my hands. So it's really, you got to look at the ones that you're hurting around you. It's just, those are the people that are giving you the time and the love and the dedication. Those are the people you don't want to hurt. So, you have to be at your best to get your best.
What would you think, like, from your childhood all the way up until adulthood. What was the biggest lessons that you've learned from that, phase? What do you take with you now as you have your own family?
For me, I think a lot, the reason I got myself in a lot of the trouble that I did is my parents, they really didn't have the option to really spend a lot of time with us. It was really, I was the oldest, and I always wanted that older brother type, person in my life, but my dad worked all day, my mom worked all day. So I kind of take care of my sister and my brother at that time, and doing everything like a parent would do, I guess, help them with their homework. But, going up to where I am now is the biggest lesson I take. What I do is I want to instill as much time with my kids as possible, even though they drive me crazy, because as a kid growing up, I didn't have a lot of time with my parents. So for me to make sure these guys are on the right track, I have to put as much time as I possibly can. I can't be selfish because it is tough. And when you come home from work after you worked a long day, the last thing you want to do is all you want to do is sit down and just relax, and it's sometimes you cannot do that. So it's, listening to my son's day, because the littlest things to me make the biggest differences. Because I remember as a kid, I would remember things like I would want to talk to my dad and tell him how my day was. And he'd be like, not now, I'm going to go take a shower. And then after that, he would fall asleep. I never got to tell him about my day. So when my kids want to tell me something, it's a small little achievement, something trivial, I listen to it. And I am in and I'm paying attention to them. So I give them all my attention, because to me, that was a big deal. So I have to make sure for them, I'm there for them. Listen.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that they love that and they appreciate that.
They better.
One day they will. If they don't right now, one day they will.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. What core beliefs and values do you think it's important to instill in them? Especially, you're a father of two boys and they're in that very, formative transitional years of, puberty and adolescence. Yeah. What is important for you as a father to teach in them?
I try to show them, my mind is, watching my dad when I was growing up. To me, he's a really good man because he worked hard. He treated my mom very well. I mean, he taught us, if you want something in life, you have to work for it, and that's what was instilled in me. So it's the same thing I'm trying to show my boys is, being a good man comes with a lot of responsibility. It is, especially, how I treat my wife and their mom in front of them. That's huge because to me, my wife is so precious and I respect her, and they have to see that. So, it's so cute. Like when RJ had one of his first girlfriends, and we met the mom and the girl, and, she was cold. He's like, here, take my hoodie. You're cold. Just little things like that. To me, I want them to be really good men. They have the Alvarado name. To me, I'm carrying it down from my dad and everything. They have to be very respectful, not just here at home, but out there on the world, being respectful to their neighbors, to everybody. This world is so crazy, and how I conduct myself out there, I want them to do the same. So, I always tell them there's a lot of responsibility being a good man in this world. So,
and what does that mean to you? Like being a good man, respecting your wife, working hard for your family.
It's a lot. It's the morals. It's, every day you wake up and your feet touch the ground. How are you going to make yourself better and the people around you? That's what I believe in. It's like, if I can help someone feel better about themselves, or, if my wife is having right now, she is, it's a stressful time for us. Even moving to Florida was stressful for her. I could not show her, and I can't show my kids if it's stressful. They can't see it on my face. They always have to know everything's going to be okay. We're going to get through it, So that's how I want them to be at the same time. Whatever life throws at you, it is not the end of the world. We'll figure it out. Don't spend so much time going, well, this is going on. I can't do this. I can't do this. Spend the time on figuring out how we're going to get things done. Just like I hear excuses all the time. And well, how are you going to fix it? How are you going to get over it? How are you going to overcome that objection? Because you are, 15 years old now. You're 12-year-olds now. 12-year-old now. When you get into the real world, you're going to face much more challenges. How are you going to deal with it? So we're trying to do the best you can. It is not easy, Andrea, being a father and a husband, and it's because you don't have all the answers. You go through and you try to do things that you think are right, and you hope to God that it works out in the end. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be a father and a husband.
What are you talking about? I mean, you're a good mom yourself, and John's a good dad too. It's just being a good parent. You don't know. We don't have the answer. We're going off of what we learned when we were young and what we see and what we feel. And we're at the time when you're confronted with something, in your heart of hearts is how you react to it, and you feel like it's right. So.
And I think what defines the right decision, right? Because even the wrong decisions can lead you to the right answers eventually.
That's true.
So it's all a learning curve, and it's all just a matter of making the choice. Right. And if it's a bad choice, you own it, and then you move forward, and you just don't let it stop you.
Right. Good point. Good point, girl.
So when we think about the people in your life so far,
mm-hmm.
Who are the pivotal people in your life that have left, enduring impressions on your concept of self or how you see and view other people? Can you tell me a little bit about the people that stick out in your mind?
Yeah, I always have the same 4 in my mind, always pop out. So when I worked for Best Buy, my first ever general, her name was Jackie Epstein. She was one of my general managers. Amazing woman, strong-minded woman, good values, amazing leadership. Because when you go on these journeys.
Hold on, I gotta remind these people. So yes, he is also from Best Buy. And this is where we met, and I'll share that story. But go on, Jackie Epstein.
Jackie Epstein. She was an amazing leader. She was probably my first general manager that really, when I came to that store at 301 at that company, it was like the Mecca, the main store, the big store, right? And I came from Melrose Park, which is, you had your own family there, and I moved to this new store, and no one knew who I was. So when she came to the store, she introduced herself, and you had your little one-on-one with her, and she goes, I see so much good in you. And she was telling me all these things that she saw in me that I didn't see in myself. I'm just like, I thought maybe she's just saying that stuff because she just has to, because she's my manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she would walk me through everything that she told me, that she saw me, and she told me why. She goes, you have so much energy. She goes, people look up to you, they respect you, and you don't even know it. And, and how I conducted myself in the building, I was, having all this energy. And to me, that was kind of normal. Best Buy helped me break out of my shell, She goes, people talk about you. They love your energy. She goes, you keep that up, you're going to go places. But so she was the first one to help me realize that, and I'll never forget her for that.
If you could say one thing to her right now, what would you say?
Jackie Epstein, I love you. You're an amazing woman, and I miss you. She was like that. She was like that stern mom, that would joke with you a little bit, but at the same time, she lets you know if you mess up, you're going to get it, So I love that. So second, same thing was with Best Buy, was Mr. Lynn Hankins. He helped me get myself promoted to my next level.
Lynn?
Lynn Hankins.
Do you know he's Jason's friend?
Are you serious?
Yes.
Wow.
Jason is my dad, my stepdad.
Yeah. Lynn Hankins.
I haven't seen him in a long time, but
really?
He'll watch this. I'll send him this.
You should. I love that man. He's one of my best leaders in my career growing up, because he was another gentleman that was like a father figure. So I had Jackie as my mom figure, Lynn is my dad figure.
So you had a mom and a dad.
Mom and my dad, complete it. And he taught me so much about business and explained it to you to a point where you got it. Because business, when you're talking business, I didn't go to college to learn this. I was just a guy that walked from a part-timer, moved up in the company. So, he would explain it how I would do it. And the same thing. He's like, man, I believe in you. You have amazing energy. People are behind you. He's like, you got a gift and you can do this. And I'll tell you why. So he believed in me so much to a point where I had to start believing in myself, and everything he said would come to truth, So that was, I loved him for that. He's an amazing leader in my eyes. My second one is, my third one, I was always looking for that big brother type, when I was growing up, and I always wanted a big brother. But one of my best friends, his name is Nick Martin. He worked in Best Buy also. All these relationships we created within Best Buy, it's like the Best Buy family. But he was like my big brother. He was another fellow manager in the store, and he would just take me under his wing and again, show me different things. And he would always tell me, he's like, I admire you because you kind of have like no shame. You just go out there, you act yourself. You're not scared of talking in front of people. And he's like, I cannot do that, So, but I would look to him because he was so business smart. He could look at something and get it right away. I'm just like, man, I have to read this over and over to get it, So he's always been like a big brother to me. He showed me so many different things in my house, how build and redo my whole house because of him. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably my last influence has always been my dad. I mean, he is such an amazing man because he's such a hard worker. He started his own business, was so successful, woke up every morning, go to work for us and come home just to put dinner on the table, make sure his kids were happy. It's like the hard work. And I would go help him out. I think that's one of the reasons I love doing yard work, because it reminds me of my dad, so just in life, he's like always telling me, anything you want in life, you have to work hard for it. It's like in this world, it doesn't, this world doesn't care if you're having a good day or a bad day. It's how you respond to every situation you deal with. And I'm like, as a kid, you're like, whatever, Dad, you have no idea what you're talking about. But then when you get older and you start to deal with life, you're like, that old man is smart and he knows what he was talking about.
You knew what you were talking about.
You know what you were talking about. So those are my four. Jackie Epstein, amazing woman. Mr. Lynn Hankins, amazing. Nick Martin, my bigger brother. And then my dad. Absolutely.
Well, I hope that they listen to this, and I hope that they feel good knowing the impact that they made on you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your career, growth and that ladder. How did you start? Like, when did your work, career life officially start?
Yeah, I think my first main job that took me off was with Best Buy. I gave the company 11 years, and I started off as a part-timer. I was a part-timer in car audio.
What age were you?
Ooh, age? I have
like high school?
Idea. Yeah, it was 2001. So what are we in?
Yeah, after the internet crash, the Y2K,
all the craziness. Yeah, and I started off as a part timer, and I was just a regular guy that had, I knew I was destined for good, but I didn't know what that meant, until I started working at Best Buy. I got me out of my shell. I started learning to be a leader. I met my wife at Best Buy. It was crazy. If you guys don't believe it, love at first sight, it is true. It is absolutely true, because it's like, and no one believes me. When I saw her for the first time, I felt like my future self now jumped back, told myself, hey, that's your future.
Get it together.
Yeah. And then go back. And I'm like, holy smokes. Right. So it was, we created so many amazing relationships through this. As I grew myself, went to 301 and spent so many years. I was just infected with it. And my end goal was I wanted to be a GM. That's what I really wanted to do. I never
General manager.
I never made it that far. The farthest I got was a sales manager. And so, it was 11 years in the company. We were going back and forth, and the growth wasn't happening. So I was like, I need to do something different, as tough as that was. So I started looking at other companies that were growing. So I wanted to see myself, and that's when Starbucks had started. I started looking at Starbucks. So I jumped into Starbucks only because during the interview, it was kind of intense, because it was like eight market leaders, and they're interviewing you one from one. They're all talking to you, but all they kept talking about was like growth as a company, growth as an employee, growth for me. And I was like, wow, this is great. But he's like, I've never had coffee, ever had coffee. So when they said, what kind of coffee you drink? I'm like, I don't even drink coffee. So that was my first time drinking coffee, is with that point at Starbucks in that interview.
And this was what, like 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I'll tell you, I appreciate Starbucks so much, because I drink straight black coffee, because I appreciate the taste of coffee now. We've done so many coffee tastings. You can tell, I could tell the difference between a light roast, medium. It's crazy. So Starbucks was a beautiful company. But again, it got to a point, I was with Starbucks for 2 years, and I was hungry. I wanted to keep growing and moving up. And they had me, watching other stores, almost like a little mini district manager, but there was no opening. So I'm doing this.
And you were a general manager at Starbucks.
At Starbucks, yeah. I was a general manager. They started this cadence. So I was able to walk into any Starbucks, and within 5 minutes, I could tell you what they were doing well and what they weren't doing well. So, and then from there.
And you were able to communicate that to your team in a way that they just loved you.
They understood.
What do you do to all the people that you work with? They just love you.
I don't know. Everyone keeps telling me it's my energy. To me, it's just normal. I don't know what it is. I believe in good energy, Andrea. I believe in energy.
Hey.
And all I have around me right now, if you were to close your eyes and put your arms out, you'll feel my positive energy. That's all I
feel it, Raul.
There it is.
So let me guys back up and tell you how we met, because Raul and Adriana
That's his wife's name. We're really great friends. And we only met maybe 10 years ago. And
Okay.
Raul and I used to work together at Best Buy in Oswego.
Mhm.
And I knew Adriana. She was a manager at another location, but we didn't know each other well. I think I've talked to her maybe twice or 3 times. Raul and Adriana are complete opposites in terms
Night
of
and day.
personality.
Night and day.
It's like me and John. So she's the serious one. She is the quiet one. And she is also the very analytical, managerial, militant one.
Yeah.
And Raul and I worked together. And I feel like Raul and I, we just clicked immediately, like, hey.
Yeah.
And but obviously it's always awkward when you meet someone who is your same age,
Right.
who is of the opposite sex. That's always tricky, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're both married, because
Right.
the minute you guys, if we're becoming friends, you don't want people talking.
People start talking.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look at those two.
Oh, look at that. And so immediately I'm like, oh, this guy has really good energy and we get along so great.
Yeah.
Our kids are the same age. I'm like, we have to become friends somehow. So I go to John and I'm like, hey, John, there's this guy at work and you would love him. You guys would get along. And John's like, I'm going to get along. I'm not going to be friends with anyone. And
he sounds just like that too.
I don't need any friends. I'm fine. And I'm like, no, you have to. And I invited you guys over for a Bulls game one time. And you guys brought the kids and we cooked out.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
It was so cool to see us coming in. It just felt like nothing felt weird. Nothing felt forced. It was like the universe said, this is supposed to happen.
And now,
boom. And then our kids got along and it's crazy. I mean, we've been friends for so long. Like we've watched our kids grow up together, when they were little to now. It's like when you look at these old Facebook pictures, you could see, when I'm looking at my son and Joshua and John and Jay and all of them, they were so tiny, so little kids. And now they're like, grown people, the things that we did together as a family. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, we love you guys. We adore you guys. We love your kids. The best time in the world is when we are all together. I mean, really, there's nothing better than our family vacations. Nothing better. I mean, it really is. You guys are so special to us, and you guys are what we miss the most.
Well, it's funny because thank you. We miss you guys, and I think what's important from this is it's hard as adults to make friends.
It is.
I don't think maybe you guys are really one of the first external friends that we've made since college, because most of my friends are either from high school or college, because you're kind of in a petri dish together, right? And so you just bond. And then after that, you're working. And when you're working, your colleagues become your family.
Right.
That's how it is. And so when I met you, though, I just was like, oh, we're going to be friends.
I knew it. Yeah.
We're going to be friends. You might not want to, but we are.
I don't know. You kept telling me, like, you got to meet my husband. I'm like, well, you got to meet my wife. We got to make this real, I still remember the first day I met John. I remember, I think it was Steve White. He came up. He's like, hey, there's this guy walking around with your son in the store. I'm like, my what? He's like, this guy has your son by the hand. I'm like, my son? I was like, what are my kids doing here? So I go there and I see John and I see Joshua. I'm like, that's not Alex. Because they almost look alike. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's when I met John. I was like, hey, man, I'm Raul. He's like, and the rest is history. I mean, I love your husband to death. He is my brother. I mean, we went through so much together. We spend so much time together. I mean, we talk all the time. So he is definitely my brother. So
yeah. Okay. So how do you define success? Well, let's go back. Okay. So now Starbucks, your manager, you have positive energy. You can, rally your troops and keep the morale high of your team. What made you leave Starbucks? And then what was the experience like at Starbucks and working there every day? What is that life like?
It is, in the morning, it is stress. It is nonstop stress because that's your go time. That's when everyone's coming to work. They got to get their lattes and they got to they got to leave. They got to go to work. So you have to make sure 2 things. Your front counter is flying, people that are coming in the front, and your drive-through is flowing, because any breakdown, I kid you not, Andrea, the whole thing falls apart. So as a leader, you have to be good at adapting right away. If the machine breaks, okay, we got to make drinks. You know, the person that I have making the drinks, is that the best person to be making drinks, right? Then you got new employees. They have to learn the cadence, and you have to throw them in the fire. And you're going to have customers yelling. You know, I still remember, you know, we'd make a drink wrong just by a little bit, and these customers would be so upset, you know, and the goal is obviously you want to make your customers happy. So you do the best you can.
Yeah, you don't want to make your customers upset.
Absolutely not. But once the morning was done, from there it was smooth sailing. It was kind of just like you're cleaning all day. You know, I learned so much through Starbucks through food and safety, because I had to we had a company called EcoShare that would come in and make sure that, you know, temps were clean, fridges were clean. I learned so much about bacteria. I mean, I clean my fridge every month. I clean it out and we de-clean it because of all the stuff I've learned about bacteria. It's crazy. But Starbucks was an amazing company. But I think at that time, one of my friends had a restaurant. It was Fire It Up. It was taco. Brand new thing. It was a taco truck. And they just opened their first brick and mortar store. And he used to come into Starbucks all the time. You know, he'd always be like, Raul, I love your energy. He's like, we're thinking about doing another restaurant. He's like, would you think about running this restaurant and then maybe helping me open a new one? And I thought about it. I was like, you know, working in a restaurant, I go, it can't be much different than Starbucks. You know, he made me a good offer, and I loved his food. It was amazing food. It was clean, organic, you know, small business
farm to
owner.
table.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, let's give it a shot. So I left the comfort of the corporate world into a small business world, you know. And, you know,
all for food.
All for, for tacos. I love tacos. I'll do anything for tacos.
I understand.
So, you know, along the way, I helped him create like a good SOP for his business, and
a standard operating procedure.
Standard operating procedure, absolutely. You know, helped him build a good team, hire the right people, because you wanted good people with good energy. You know, when you come into a restaurant, good chefs, good kitchen managers. And then the rest was history. It went very well. We opened up the one in Wheaton. But what started to happen is in the restaurant world, which I didn't know, is, you know, if you have call-offs or anything, you're the manager, if you're the main guy, you are there all day. So there was a lot of days where I was open to close all the time, and there was like weeks that I did not see my family. So it was very stressful and very taxing. And we do these things, and you want a reward at the end. The reward really wasn't there for me. So I was like, you know, I'm going through all this craziness kind of for nothing. You know, I wanted to see long-term, opening up more restaurants. But it was extremely stressful. That was probably the most stressful I've ever been, you know? So
for tacos.
I mean, the tacos were good, but I mean, don't get me wrong.
And they were not that great.
They were not that great.
Okay.
So I do miss them. I still keep in contact with them, and they're still open. They still have a place open in Naperville. Mm-hmm. Fire It Up Tacos, really good. Then from there, I transitioned to started to do a little personal training, and then working for Lowe's a little bit, because one of my best friends, Nick Martin, was a manager. He's like, hey, I think you should come down to Lowe's. He's like, there's this position that's open for sales manager that they just started. He's like, I love your energy. You do great for this. I'm like, perfect. Okay. So I gave that a shot while doing personal training too, because personal training, I loved working out and I loved helping my friends work out. And everyone told me, why don't you become a personal trainer? I'm like, well, I'll give it a shot. And the owners for Beyond Measure Fitness Training in Naperville, he took me on as an intern. Well, it was Steve Havoc. Amazing, him and his wife, Kate. And he says, hey, I told him I love doing this fitness thing, but
tell the world what your dream job is.
As a personal trainer. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, I should just do it, but, you know, I'll get to that later. But it's, you know, nothing more than I love is people coming to me and say, Raul, I want your energy. I want to look good. I want to feel good. And that's all I want. And the rest I can do for you. But you got to be committed and disciplined to it. It is not an easy lifestyle. You got to eat right, and you got to work on. You got to put the work in. People think it's 1, 2, 3 and done. So when I was there, I learned a lot from them at the gym, and they saw my energy. I would run classes like 30 to 50 people in one class. You know, like nothing. You know, it was amazing. And then what I really loved about that job was people that would come in and their lives would change. That was the beauty of it. You know, you would sit down and have one-on-one sessions with them, and you're like, you know, and they would tell you as they're leaving, they're like, you know, thank you so much for your motivation. You know, and I thought it was just a little thing that I was doing, but like these little trivial things meant such a big deal to them. You know, is the energy that you would give them, the motivation was a big thing to help them along their journey. So even though I saw myself as a coach helping them out, you're almost like a life coach, because you got people going through divorces and dealing with things they can't bend over, tie their shoe. You know, how do you help them with life? You know, and that's what I love doing it. So I really, that's what I love about that part of the business, you know. And when I was at Lowe, also I was doing that in Lowe's at the same time. Lowe's was kind of a tricky company for me because they were instilling sales managers on their floor, and they're not really a sales. You know, if you ever gone to a Lowe's or Home Depot, you look for something and they say, I'm looking for a hammer. Oh, the hammer's over there. And then that was it, you know?
Yeah.
But the difference was now is, you know, if you're coming to look for a hammer, I'm trying to sell you on something now. So you're looking for, what are you going to do with the hammer? Oh, you're doing a project. What kind of project? Let me see if we can do it for you. You know, it was a whole other thing. But then the company, after 1 year working there, scrapped that whole role, and then they gave me a severance. So I was like, well, what do I do now? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this personal training thing full time. And I loved it. I really did. But then point in case, at the end, that's when we started moving out here, out to Florida. So
yeah, just when you found
just when I found it, yeah, I was like, oh, what are you going to do? So we moved out here, and then I'm like, well, let me try to find a gym out here in Florida. And I was looking kind of for that same Naperville home feeling, and I could not find it. It was a different world in Florida. Everyone, all they care about is getting big and huge muscles. And, you know, I just want to focus on movement and functionality. So.
Well, I'm sure that there are those gyms over there, and hopefully through this video, they'll find you, or you'll find them somehow.
Somehow, some way.
Because you're great at it.
Thank you.
But yes, that's around the same time when Adriana had a position, an offer for the director position at Concentra for the Florida market. And, you know, you can't refuse that offer.
You can't. It was a scary thing. 'Cause like I said earlier, I still remember sitting at the kitchen table, and we were all talking about it as a family, the pros and cons of going to Florida or staying in Chicago. And I always told, and I'm always a person that's like, I'm all in. Let's try new things. Let's figure it out. We'll figure it out when we get there. I said, this could be, you know, I never want to, you know, pass this up. And I never want you to pass this up and say, you know, what could have been, you know. Florida's new. I go, we can get through this. As long as we stay together as a family, we'll be fine. It's not like we can't come visit back our friends and family, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
we jumped in. I still remember that first year here. It was a new world. It was beautiful because you got the oceans, the weather. It was beautiful, but we were kind of out of our element. It was totally different.
And what was it like? Explain, because there's two things I think that are important from this time. One is that you are very comfortable and familiar. I don't want to say comfortable, but very familiar with being uncertain and unsure about what your next position is going to be. Because there's been several times in your career that, you know, the door closed and you're kind of like, what am I going to do now? I'm a great manager, a great leader. And where am I going to go and where do I fit? And in each phase, you've managed to find that in unexpected places or through the people you've met. Positions come, because I firmly believe that good talent always finds a home. Somewhere, sometime, good talent always finds a home, because real recognizes real, right? Okay. Having too much fun here.
You're good.
Okay. And then the other part is that when you have to make that adjustment to move, and especially with your family, and having everyone on the same page and making sure that there's clarity of vision here. Hey, we're doing this because this is a good opportunity. We're doing this because we don't want to live with regret later. We're doing this because we know we can get through it, I think is half the battle, right? When you're going through something so huge, it's being able to say, this is where we're going and this is why, and we will get through it. So moving on, what about your work?
Like my job now, working at Comcast as a manager. So it hasn't even been a full year yet, Andrea. I feel like I've worked for Comcast for like 6 years. It's hilarious. And I remember when I moved here, I was thinking about working for the company, and I reached out to our friend Lisette, and I says, hey, I'm thinking about joining the company. You know, I know you talked about it before, but I think I'm going to do it. She goes, well, you know, she tells me all the good things about it. It's an amazing company. She goes, you know, I'll get you an interview. The rest is up to you. And I have an interview. And I kid you not, the interview process took like 2 months, like 2 to 3 months. And I'm like, I'm not going to get hired. You know, I was like, so I interviewed for like Apple, Best Buy, even Tesla. And I'm like, man, I gotta do something out here. And then I remember I called the recruiter and I would reach out to Lisette. She goes, this is the process. This is how long it takes. My goodness. And then finally they called me back, made me an offer. I took it. So with Comcast, I was training for 3 months and everything was awesome. And the main director, he was new too. His name was Paul Schussler. He's another amazing man. And I think the 3 months that I was there, again, everyone's like, they've never seen a person like me with this energy. I get in, I'm introducing myself. Hey, how you doing? I'm from Chicago, telling everyone my story. And they're like, I'm doing like the slow clap and will you protect this house? And they're like, who the hell are you? And I'm just like, I go, you guys might not be ready for this. I apologize, So, and then, they started to see the teams, my store, respond very well to me. They're like, man, my surveys were good. I mean, they're like, who is this guy? And then I still remember the one day my director came in my office and he's like, hey, I just finished my 3-month training. He's like, we're about to open a brand new store in Palm Beach Gardens. He's like, I don't want you to get nervous, but you are the guy to open that store. I'm like, what? I go, I just finished my training. He's like, trust me, you can do this. I'm like, okay. And then we did it. I mean, there was so much work involved because you're dealing with contractors, corporate partners, and I was able to meet so many new people. The process was amazing.
Yeah.
The store opened. Everything was perfect. One of the best openings ever. I got so much kudos from my directors. My director's boss. It was cool, Went to another store, helped open the West Palm Beach store. That was beautiful. And then there was an opportunity. There's a store right across the street here in Wellington. It was an Xfinity store, one of the biggest stores in the market. It says, there was a spot that opened up. And they're like, they got to put Raul in there. I'm like, what? So they put me in the store, and it's been doing very well, pretty successful. So as far as surveys, the employee morale, which is a big thing, because that's who I am. I want to get there. I'm not fake. I'm real with you, and I respect you. If I give you respect, I want the same in return. But if you cross me, you're in trouble. So it's like, I'll do right by you if you do right by me. So
and during that time, because there was a period of time when you moved to Florida, you didn't have a job lined up, you didn't have that position,
right.
You're in transition, you're in a new area, and you're dealing with trying to get your house, the house that you're renting in order, getting your kids enrolled in school, acclimated, and then trying to figure out, where do I work around here? Was there ever a time when you got discouraged where, you felt maybe depressed or kind of out of sorts in your mind? And how did you deal with this?
Yeah, I think I was, and usually I'm a person that's not like that. I mean, anything I do and I go after, I always know at the end everything is going to be okay, or there's nothing that I can't handle. That's my mindset. So I go into it. But there was a time where I wasn't getting anything with, and the jobs weren't coming up, and I was sitting there. I was like, man, nothing is going right. My wife was deep into work and working, and I was at home cleaning and cooking and with the kids, and I had no real purpose to me. I had purpose, but I like my mind to be challenged. I like to be in the thick of it doing things, and it wasn't there. So I think the downside, I think my weakness is I am so good at, motivating somebody and getting people pumped up, but sometimes myself, the motivator, needs motivation. And sometimes I think the best way to do that, if I don't get that, I kind of shut down and I kind of cocoon myself, but it's kind of like I'm rebuilding myself at the same time. I just need to be left alone. Let me rethink things and go. But the problem is, I have so much energy. I'm always on all the time.
Yeah.
People think there's something wrong. My wife will be like, what's wrong with you? I go, no, nothing is wrong. I'm just kind of in a phase right now, So it's kind of like, it's yin and it's yang. It's good and it's bad. So.
Yeah. And what period of time did you go through that?
It was probably like almost 2 months. It really was, because there was nothing coming up. That whole process with Comcast took about 2 months. I was getting interviews, some I was getting offered, but the offers weren't, strong or see myself doing. And the ones that I was looking for, offers weren't going through. And I was like, man, what really got me back on base with everything, I kid you not, was going to church. It really was, because I was not a person, I went to church only for my wife and my kids when we were back in Chicago, because I did it for them, because I was, we're supposed to be a man of faith, but I wasn't bought into that church, that lifestyle, that whatever they were saying in church, it wasn't registering to me. When we got out here, I mean, honestly, what helped me was going to church. We went to like 5 different churches, Andrea, because that was the most important thing my wife had to do. She had to find a good church.
So that was my wife had to do is find me a church.
Right. And then the most important thing for me was finding a barber for the kids. That was my priorities. But we went through like 5 different churches. None of them felt right. And the church that we go to now, we went there, and I just remember they put us all the way, we got there, and they put us all the way in the front row, okay? And, you know, everyone's singing and they're worshiping, and I'm like, man, I'm like, whatever, here we go again. And I'm sitting in the front row, and the pastor starts talking. And as he starts talking, it's like I get these goosebumps all over my body, because he's starting, you know, what he's preaching, whatever the message was of the day, he's making it relate to everyday life. And I honestly felt like he was talking to me. It was crazy. Even now I get goosebumps talking about it, because I was like, whatever he was saying, this weight was getting lifted off my shoulder. And I'm listening to him, and I start crying, like just standing there crying. My wife looks at me as crying. I have no idea why I'm crying, but I'm listening to what he's saying. Then I look at my kids, and they're looking up and listening, and they're smiling, and they're laughing, they're into it. And I was like, this is going to be our church. This is it right here, you know? So that helped me so much get through all I was going for. I would wake up every morning, and I would just pray. And that's all I would do. I'd get my coffee, because coffee is life. I would sit out in my backyard with the sun.
Now coffee is life.
Coffee is life. The sun would begin to rise right over the palm trees, and I would sit there, and I would just pray about my day. I was like, everything's going to go well. This is what's going to happen. And that's what got me through a lot. And that's what gets me through a lot today, because I never prayed or talked to God, and I never did any of that. But to me, it's so important now. That was part of my next step of learning to becoming a better person, was I have to have faith, because without the faith, I can't do this by myself. There's no way. I needed his help. So that got me through a lot. So.
And do you guys still go to that church? Well, now. Well, I mean, virtually.
It's virtual now. We watch it. We have the iPad. My wife and I wake up. We get the iPad. We put it outside on our table while we drink coffee, and we listen to the worship. I mean, that's what we do. But it sets our day. I mean, it really does. And I think what's different from this church at New Sound versus the old churches was this church relates to you, what you're doing, what you're going through in life. I'm just like, it's a meaning. I mean, I'm going through this stress in life, or, whatever things are battling you for the day, but this is how you overcome it,
Yeah.
All the positive stuff you need to hear and read is in the Bible. You just got to know how to break it down. And that's what they do. So it's like, it's beautiful. It really is.
Would you say that church is where you find inspiration and strength, or is there another source of inspiration for you?
I mean, I think right now it's where I get a lot of it is in church. I mean, we don't go all weeks, every Sunday when we used to go, and we were involved in small groups, because what we started to notice is you can't do things by yourself without a community. So this was kind of our community of people. We'd go to church and enter these small groups, talk to other people. But now with this whole Rona, we don't have our community right now. We can't go see them. We can't go talk to them. So
we're dealing with a lot. How do you unwind now? What do you guys do?
It's like we start our day. We wake up, again, like I said, coffee is life. And then we go for morning walks. So we'll go take Rocky for a walk, our dog for a walk. That is the best time to go for walks in the morning, because everything is still, there's people still sleeping, and you can just kind of unwind your mind. And then we still work out. Like we go for runs, we go rollerblading, we go bike riding. You have to have some type of activity like that to kind of unwind, and just all that stress that's built up, you got to get rid of it. It's like we're so used to her and I unwinding from the kids, going out on dates, whatever we had to do. We can't do that now. So the only way we do it now is unwinding, watching TV. I love 90 Day Fiance. I don't know if you ever watched that. I'm like tuned into that show. It is, you have to watch 90 Day Fiance. It's hilarious. Shows on Netflix, we're reading books, but I think the biggest thing is just being outside when we can, taking it in. It's like so weird. As the older I get, the little things I never thought I would enjoy in life, I do. Like this morning, I went for a nice long walk with my dog, and I'm just taking in the beauty of everything. The birds chirping, the sun. I mean, it's like these stupid little things. I would have thought they were stupid. They are beautiful to me. They really are. And it sounds weird, but if you told me this like years ago, I'd be like, that's stupid. A walk, that's lame. I don't got time for that. But I love that stuff. I love buying flowers at Home Depot, putting them outside and watering them and just enjoying them. It's so weird. I think I'm turning into a lame person. I really do. I don't know what's going on. But that's what I do. That's what we do.
And how has Corona and these Corona times changed the way that you guys, view the world, and has it changed the way that you view the world? What do you know now that maybe you didn't really think of before? Has it taught you anything?
It's just that, what it's just really taught me is that this world will still go on and everything will be fine, kind of without us. It's like the birds will still chirp, the sun will still rise, and it doesn't need us. The world is beautiful. It's almost like it's cleansing itself of us right now. I think what this is showing us more is, on an everyday grind, you'd wake up, you'd go to work, and you'd leave, and you come back and do this. But now it's when it's forced you to shelter in and kind of spend time with each other. It's just like, holy smokes, it's a different world. The way I view things now, it's like, it's kind of like an unknown. You don't know what is this the new normal? This all started with supposedly someone eating a bat in Wuhan, China, and then getting everyone else sick. Who knows? But it's just like, you think about this. So say 3 months from now, everyone's like, okay, the coronavirus is gone. It is left. You guys are free to go outside. Will everyone really go back outside? I mean, will it be different? Will you be able to go to a baseball game or a football game the same without, it's just like, how are you going to look at things? I miss going to restaurants. Well,
yeah.
I know that's the first thing you think of.
The day I can.
I'm going, right? That's what I tell myself too. But then I start to think, like, this stuff it's serious, and when will it be before something hits again? It's just, I don't know. It's like a lot of unknowns. So that's kind of the tricky part.
What I like though is that there's so much unknown, and I guess the unknown is the only thing that we actually do know for sure, is that there will always be unknowns and there will always be uncertainty and change.
It's true.
So you actually stated it really well. Sun will still rise, birds will still chirp, life will still go on.
I think everything will still be fine. As long as I wake up in the morning, I have air in my lungs and my heart still beats, everything will be fine. This will pass. They say this will pass. This will be gone. It'll take a couple months. If you don't, everyone says, I don't have time to do anything. We all have the time to do something right now. And I'm always telling my employees, if you are not focusing on yourself right now, if you're not focusing on a side hustle or bettering yourself, then you don't lack time. You lack discipline, because you have more than enough time right now. Figure something out. Everything you wanted to do it now. And the same thing for me. Everyone's like, Raul, you need to do my own YouTube channel and do workouts on there.
You would do so well.
And I have to do that. I have the time to do it now, so it's like, I put a plan in place and it's coming. It's coming soon, people. You'll see. So we do not lack time right now. We lack discipline. We have no excuses to get things done now. Whatever you want to do to focus on yourself, this is the time to do it. Any relationships that are not solid and sound, if they were before, work on them now, because life is so beautiful and it's so short. We cannot hold grudges on these little things, I mean, I always tell these employees, you do not lack time right now. We lack discipline if you do not focus on yourself right now.
And for those, because there's a lot of people who are going to be losing their jobs, losing income, worrying about how they're going to survive, worrying about what the next meal is going to be, worrying about where they're going to shelter if they don't have a secure place.
Yeah.
What can you offer those people? Do you have any words of, I don't even want to say advice, because nobody wants advice during that time, right?
No, they don't.
But what encouragement, is there anything you can offer?
That's really tough, because you got to put yourself in a place, I can only put myself in a place when I wasn't working when I got here. Things seemed, even though my wife was working and I had my own house, I can't really imagine what those people are going through. If it was me in that position, I mean, I would never look at it as a negative or bad thing. I really wouldn't. I would just look at it, because there's so many things in life that we want. And if you don't get it, you're like, well, why don't I get it? Don't I deserve that? But it wasn't meant for you at that time. You weren't ready to receive that. So at this time, say if you're losing your house or you're losing your job, that everything happens for a reason. I really, truly believe that, so it's very hard. I mean, whatever I say is probably not going to make it better. But in my case, if I was in that position, I would stay positive, knowing that whatever season this is going to pass, and that everything is going to work itself out. It will, because it is not the end. It'll work itself out somehow, some way.
And what drives you? how do you, wake up now and continue to push yourself forward? What do you tell yourself? What is that source of drive for you?
I think it's like I set myself to a standard, I always heard, I was always taught, one of the things Lynn Hankins taught me was, as leaders, we are always on stage. And same thing with Jackie Epstein. She said, as a leader, you are always on stage, with your employees. But that doesn't just go in the workplace, it goes in life. So for me, I feel like I'm always on stage. I have to have a certain standard I hold myself to. I've got to be that, I got to be there for my friends. I got to be there for my family. Got to be there for my neighbors, out in the public, whatever. I hold myself to a certain standard. I have to be that. So I just see myself always on stage, and how I conduct myself. I have to feel good about it.
What are you most proud of right now?
I mean, where I am right now today, I have 2 boys, with their mind on straight, I've always wanted to be married, have a dog, and have 2 kids. And that's where I'm at right now. I got a great job. I got everything that I need. I don't need anything. I have great friends. I have great family at home. I have everything. I have everything that I need. So I'm proud of in the environment that I am right now. And I feel like I had some kind of influence for that. If I really didn't go after my wife the way that I did, and, who knows if I'd be married today or where I'd be right now. So,
yeah.
But I'm just most proud of myself getting out of where I was to where I am today. I'm telling you, if you knew who I was back then, Andrew, you're like, man, that guy is a screw up. He was never going to amount to anything. So to where I am now is a big deal for me.
And I think that gives a lot of hope to people who might also be in the same position right now that you found yourself in years back. There is hope for you.
Yes.
You can make the right choice. All it takes is one shift in perspective, and there's another life waiting for you. And even if setbacks happen, you don't find a job, if you get laid off, as you've been through all of that, and you understand what it's like to have to leave your family, move to another area, raise teenagers, and then deal with jobs that you don't like UPS, right?
Right.
That life and that struggle, but I think that there's beauty on the other side. And if you can find the perspective to see it, that's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah, it is. I mean, once I started to learn and tell myself that this world does not care if I'm having a good day or a bad day, or, that's when I started to understand, this is all about me and how I make myself feel and how in my thought process on everything. So whoever's going through that, you just got to understand that everything will pass and everything is going to work out the way it is, but you got to believe it. So. And
what's next for you? What's on your radar? What do you have planned?
I'm going to be a professional dancer, I think, is going to be my next goal. It's going, part of this time being at home.
Go get that pole, Raul.
I'm going to get it. I got 2 of them. Yeah, I got the pole right here. Hold on. I think for me, this whole time is really me. I want to start doing my own YouTube channel. That's what I have to do. And I think part of me is I don't know how to start that stuff and do that stuff, but I have people around me, at work that have their own channels, and they're like, God, Raul, you used to be so good at this. Why don't you have this yet? So they're helping me. So it's coming soon. I love fitness and to help people, and any motivation I can give them. If I infected one person with my mind process and help them have a great day, then I've done my job. I've done what I'm supposed to do. That's all I care.
Yeah. And then what quote or life philosophy defines your point of view now?
I look at it as success is never owned. It is rented, and the rent is due every day. Boom! That's what it is. That's what I use. Success is never owned. It is rented. And I'm always saying I live life and love life, because I always put myself, and some people, they agree with it and they don't. Some people are like, shut up, Raul. Life's not all about sunshine and clouds. And it's true. It's not, but it's just how you take every situation. If I'm having a bad day, you really never know, honestly, so, but you got to be successful. You got to work hard for things, but you got to get your hands dirty.
And what do you think the world needs more of right now?
We need more love, Andrea. That's what it is. This world is lacking love. Just you love each other, love your neighbor. And there's different types of love, It's like when I tell my wife I love her, if I tell my kids I love them, when I tell my dog I love them, when I tell you guys I love you, we just need that compassion, that love, and that's what we need, because this world is so jacked up, and people's mindsets I just believe they weren't loved enough. I don't know. If you take the time to listen to their story, everyone has a story. Some people just want to be heard and they want to be listened, Yeah. And if you would genuinely listen to them and hear them out, that's all they want, So
this is so true.
Yeah. That's what you need. The world needs more love.
Well, thank you, Raul. I appreciate you being a guest on the show.
I appreciate you having me on. I really do. We are really so proud of you for doing this. I mean, this is an awesome thing. This was an idea you told us about, but to see where this is now, bravo, girl. It's going to be fun to watch this and watch you become successful. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate you for giving us some time, and I hope that you guys have a beautiful week. And love you guys, miss you guys, and thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for listening to Tuesdays with Andrea. There are hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and I appreciate you making the time to listen to mine. If you like this show and want to know more, check out TuesdaysWithAndrea.com. Or please leave a review on iTunes or drop a line in the YouTube comments section. Until next time, please stay kind in your mind, nice on the web, and stay hella hopeful in your heart.